Roundtable, top 100, 95 through 91. The community decided this list. But the more I'm realizing, not the whole community decided this list. Either it skipped some people or it didn't pop up or whatever happened. But some of the community did this list. And what we're finding out is maybe some of the younger members of this community did this list, which we will find out in future episodes that they were here. Makes me want to do this like in a different style, like a different maybe like actor or something like that, like later down the line. But we're here. We're doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Koho was seen last episode, I believe, right? Correct? Yes. Where Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest was on. One of your top favorite movies, made it there. Overall, panel liked it, so you had one, check. Tonight, you have I still consider, I believe, your number one of all time. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how are you doing? You have to be pleased because it at least made the top 100.
I am. Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm generally happy whenever I see something that like is in my top 10, makes a top 100. Like obviously I would like it to be higher, but I'm me, so like my things are not necessarily going to be as high as I would put them as. So I'm just happy they're here. So I'm excited to talk about it.
It just shows that your brainwashing ability for the past couple of years have like run off on some people, and that's kind of scary. So please don't run political office ever. Next up, we got Holtzman. Holtzman also, I also reached out to him for the very next episode because he has a list was all on his list basically.
And I'll be honest, I like this submissions for this thing was like what 6 months ago. I don't remember what 10 movies I put on my list because I
20 for the fact. It was top 20.
But like I didn't just take here's my top 20 favorite movies and send them in, so I can't just be like, yeah, here's my top 20 favorite movies. Those are in like I actually like tried to be more objective about it, and what that has led to is I don't remember anything that I submitted.
That's great. That's great. I like dropping them in the chat after everybody like sits there and like, oh crap, these are the movies. Because I don't want to tell people ahead of time what's coming up because then they'll be like, no, thank you. I'd like a general reaction of like thoughts. What is that? Somebody playing spoons? Okay, next up, Brian Michaels. When I say that not everybody submitted it, it was somebody playing spoons. That's good here. When I say that not everybody submitted a list, Brian's one of those people. Brian is one of those people that did not either was not on Facebook for the week like I was promoting it, or just I thought he did, so I didn't reach out and tell him to submit it, which I wish I would have because we would have got a little bit difference of opinions here. But it's kind of nice that he's going in kind of blind because of it, so then I can get his like real opinion. So he has really no dog in the fight, same as me. I have zero. I never submitted a list, so my opinions are not here represented, and you'll see that as the show goes on. They're really not here. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it just never popped up in my Facebook feed, so I didn't get to put in my own list. I wish I had, just because there's movies, both last week and this week that I wish I could have pushed higher. There's other ones I wish I could have maybe pushed down or even off the list. But I'll look for any opportunity to talk about movies, and I like most of these, so we're good.
Yes, and it's really fun because the normal roundtable is like picking up random movies that you don't really know about or you haven't. That somebody found a gem a long time ago, but no one else has seen it. This one is, most of them for the most part I think when I created the list, I have 12 never seen. So of this 100, I've seen everything besides that. This should be an interesting episode because last but not least, the happiest go luckiest guy in the town. Everybody says I'm the grumpiest guy in the community. It's going to be put to the test these episodes that we do. Kirk will always be here. Yeah, how are you doing, Kirk?
I might die first. You never know.
You know what? Bring me back for as many episodes as you want, and I'll try and help it out.
Oh, and I will try. There you go.
There's a balance.
Listen. Hi, Cody. Thank you. Thrilled to be here. Something has to be said, because after last week's episode, we had some conversations off air, and I realized quickly how this is going to go. We sold this as the Sight and Sound list, the greatest movies ever. It wasn't movies you have fun watching with your buddies or a movie you loved when you were a kid. It's the greatest movies ever. Everybody put together their top 20 greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm judging this. Is there any universe in which this movie can be considered one of the top 20 movies ever made? And that's where my criticisms come from. If you love the movie, you like it, you have fun with it, that's great. Good for you. But is it one of the greatest movies of all time? That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm sorry. If you don't like the criticism, you should have put better movies on your list. And that being said, I'm ready to get started.
I may have to run a tally of how many he would have voted off the island. So I don't know how many from last week. You can give me that number by the end of it. You can remember the 5 movies, and you can vote those off, and then we'll figure out where you're at mentally. I like to tell everybody that hasn't been on the show before what was close to making the list, but was not. It missed it by 1 point. Basically, how YLS math has always worked. The top spot, number 1, was given 20 points. Everything under that is 19, 18, all the way down to 1 point. That's how the math has always worked. When multiple people put movies on a list, the math adds up. So, to put this into perspective, the clearing number where I would had to have axed something was 19 points. So, if you put it at number 2, it gets into that 19 category to fight. If you put it at 3 or below, it missed it with 18. And that's
so
what
many
happened.
of my things missed the list.
So that's what happened here. So the movies that missed it and were not on this collect, and I know looking at this list right now, Brian would have at least pushed a few, maybe probably a few of these over if he did his criteria. Now, if he did Kirk's criteria, who knows? But if I know Brian, I think some of these would have made it. But the movies that missed the list, the 7 that will not be featured, are the original West Side Story, the original Point Break, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Logan, It Happened One Night, The Truman Show, that had 3 distinct votes but did not equal the tally to clear the 18. And last but not least, Dog Day Afternoon, that only had 1 single vote, and it was of Kirk Kowalkowski, and he had it at number 3. So that is kind of the metric that we're comparing against. And if you wonder why he is salty, it's kind of on full display. Previous episode, we did rank. I will go through those before we start. So basically, I no longer read what was originally in its place. It's what the group decided last time. So at number 100 is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Number 9, Playtime. A lot of people enjoyed that a lot more than me. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring is number 98. 97 was Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and 96 was Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver being the best movie from that list, provided by everybody. Now, we're on to this list. Very first movie of the week, Moonlight. Oh, wait. La La Land. La La Land is here. I have been on record. So what I tell everybody to do is give a fresh watch, because I don't want everybody to go in there with a preconceived how they felt when they watched it. Maybe there's a movie you watched when it came out originally. Maybe you've watched it. It's been 4 years. Maybe it's been a couple years. Whatever the case may be, give it a fresh watch. Come in here, talk about it at length. I will lead this on La La Land. I'm not a fan of this movie. I think everybody knows that. I think there's no surprise. Is it a beautiful movie? Absolutely. I would consider it like one of the best shot movies ever. What it lacks on is what it's described as, and that is a musical. A musical is not, it's not a good musical. It's a good maybe dance numbers. It's a good romantic story, because Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone have amazing chemistry. They work so well together. The problem is the music is the most forgettable part. Emma Stone can't sing. I've said this before. I'll say it again. She can't. She can carry a tune. She can. Like, she has that ability. But not musical premise. So that's always been a disconnect for me. It's not good. The opening number has always been my favorite from this thing, and then it just goes straight downhill from there. Even though everybody just dancing on each other's car just would piss me off. Like I just like I'd be the guy still sitting in my car, be like, "We can get the fuck off."
I just like that
like,
your metric for that is like, oh, if this was a real thing and not a movie, I'd hate it. Like,
it also feels like a disc, like it's shot in modern day. Is that correct?
Yes.
But no one really acts like it's modern day at all, like in the whole movie for me. Like, by everybody's, like, outfits and their hours they go about their day. It just doesn't feel real to me. It feels like it's a piece. So, overall, fresh rewatch, it did not improve much for me. It still is that disconnect where I'm just like, I always hate it when people go see musicals and like, I hate when they just bust out into song and they sing and dance. Like, that's just stupid. Like, no people act like that. I love that when it's catchy. It's not catchy. So, I think two are on the very positive side of La La Land. I don't know where Kirk and Cam are, so I'm going to pass it to those two first, and then I'll let the other two gush about it a little bit before we get into a discussion. So, Cam or Kirk, take it away of your overall thoughts, and how did you feel on a rewatch from this?
Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, it is very well known. I'm a big musical theater guy. Like musicals, my bread and butter. And La La Land is a movie that I've had a very back and forth relationship with since the year 2016, where 2016 I was like, this is okay, it's not great. I'm like, yeah, I agree. It's shot really well. I think the performances are good. Like, I think the singing is very it's nothing amazing. Like, I don't think it's bad, but like for your big Hollywood musical, I shouldn't be just saying about the singing in your movie like, oh, it's not bad. Like, I should be saying, wow, that's fantastic. And like even like the numbers themselves and the songs themselves, like I'm not a huge fan of the writing. Like, it wasn't. And then time went on. Rewatched like a year, 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is better than I remembered. I liked it a little bit more. And then I rewatched it for this, and I kind of went back to 2016, where I'm like, it's still like I still don't think it's a bad movie. I will never say that La La Land is a bad movie, but it's a movie that like it's impossible for me to love this movie because like I think the place where it fumbles is as a musical, not necessarily as a movie. Where like as a film, I like the story. I think the performances are very good. I think like visually, the cinematography, the colors, the visuals, all that like are great. But the music, the music is where it loses me. And like that's kind of what I need to get me through this. So yeah, I'm not terribly high on this movie. It went back down a little bit for me. Still not bad, but still to me not one of the greatest movies, not one of the greatest musicals. Moonlight deserved Best Picture, and I will still always remember cackling, laughing when the whole Moonlight La La Land debacle happened. Because La La Land won Best Picture, I turned the TV off, went upstairs to grab a snack, and my parents were watching the Oscars. And as I'm grabbing a snack, the whole, oh, wait, no, we won, but we didn't win happened. And I was like, what? And I started yelling, and my parents got mad at me.
It's one of the greatest moments ever. I think they should do that at least every 5 years.
You should do it every year that we are removed from it. The funnier it will be if they do it as a joke again.
I just remember going, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we didn't win. Like,
every single year they should announce that La La Land won Best Picture before they announce the real one.
I agree. Kirk.
Oh. Yeah, very much like Cam, this movie is always like it seems like every rewatch it goes up or down for me. It's never been like a fantastic all-time great for me, but I've never thought of it as horrible either. It's always been floating somewhere in the middle and just working its way through there. I agree with you both on the music. I don't think the music's bad. As I'm sitting there listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. It's catchy. But like I said, in 2016, I walked out of the theater and I was not humming any of the music. And to me, that is the sign if you succeeded as a musical. If I'm like, if it's catchy, if I catch on, I want to sing it, I want to listen on the way home. That didn't happen for me. I rewatched it 3 or 4 days ago. Again, I enjoyed the music as I was watching. I could not tell you the lyrics or sing you any of the songs. It just in and out. It's like cotton candy. I also, you said something, Cody, that kind of I agreed with. I hate when movies try to do like an old-timey type of movie, and it's not like they're bringing a new spin on it. It's just an old thing they used to do, and we're going to do that again. Like, I don't like Clue. I don't like Hudsucker Proxy, those kind of movies. Like, hey, we're just going to try to recreate this. It turns out to be cosplay. I don't think this is as bad as those movies, but I think there are a lot of moments in this movie where it's like, oh, they're just doing this musical or that musical, and just kind of like it's a carbon copy and not as good. It did, like Cam, it went down for me a little bit. I can't say that I didn't. There's nothing that I didn't enjoy or that I didn't have fun with it, but it did just not hit as strong for me this time.
Before we pass it, I think where this movie is exactly what it is. Damien Chazelle, or whoever cast it, I'm assuming Damien picked those two to be in this role. But my thing was, I think, man, they have such great chemistry. I'm going to put them in this role. Well, it's a musical. We'll figure that shit out later. Like, just I need these two because they have a chemistry that's unmatched. I want them, but they have
at least it was Miles Teller. You don't live in that.
Gosling's not the problem. Gosling's not the problem in the movie. Gosling's
that movie going to be Miles Teller and Haley Steinfeld, or am I crazy?
No, it was what you're thinking of is Ryan Gosling was originally supposed to be the Beast in the live action Beauty and the Beast. And Miles Teller was supposed to do this movie, and Emma Watson was supposed to be the Emma Stone part, and she switched to go to Beauty and the Beast, and Ryan Gosling switched to go to this. They flopped.
I don't know how that would have worked out. So
Damien Chazelle didn't want to cast.
I would like to try that. I would like to try that.
The only person who literally no one from the original plan is in this movie except J.K. Simmons.
Fair. Two people that really liked it. I'll save Koho for last, obviously, because number one movie. Brian.
Yeah, my vote wouldn't have moved this if I'd voted, because I do have this in my top 100, but it is kind of in the lower half. Because I do like this movie a lot. I would not call it one of the top 20 movies of all time, though. But I have no problem with being in the top 100. I understand what these guys are saying about, like, if you see a musical and the songs are forgettable, that really kind of hurts the fact that it is a musical. I mean, like, I just watched Wonka again last night, not the old one. We're going to talk about that later, but the newer one, and I watched that movie and the songs were so completely forgettable. It's
They're
like
nothing.
I was just like, I could, again, like Kirk was saying, he felt about this movie is that I could not even remember most of the songs after it ended. And it's not a horrible movie. It's just forgettable as a musical. I don't feel that way about this one. I mean, it's not quite the musical I was hoping for when it first came out. Like Lovely Night and Someone in the Crowd, some of those songs I really enjoy. But then some of the other ones like City of Stars and that, it gets a little bit more somber, which is, I was looking for a more upbeat, energetic musical. But aside from my expectations, though, I really like this. And I just rewatched it this past week, and I still really enjoy this movie. I think that the story I really enjoy. I think that whether or not they were the original plan for it, I think the cast is good. I mean, they aren't the best singers in the world, but they both, they have singing experience in the past from stage and screen. And I think they both do a fine job. I think it almost kind of grounds it a little bit more in reality. I mean, as much as a musical can be grounded in reality, because they aren't, these perfect performers. It just sounds natural. And so I just really enjoyed it. I think the only thing I didn't like about the movie is just because, I guess I want my happy endings or something. I kind of wish the whole thing at the end was not just like a what if kind of scenario. I wish they actually had gotten their happy ending instead of being, part at the end. But that's just a nitpick. I still love the movie.
All right, I'll release the Kraken. Go ahead, Koho. Tell us why we're wrong.
After just sitting here and getting
we're too hard on City of Stars.
Stomach for 10 minutes. No, this is my favorite movie, and it more than likely will be for most of my life, just because of how much the movie is important to me. And I remember, and it's a memory that will always be ingrained in my brain. I think about it a lot lately, is how on I think it was on our top 100 where it was like, La La Land will always be my favorite movie, and I can't picture it ever not being my favorite movie. And Kirk being like, you are so young, there's no way this will last like 100 years of your life being your favorite movie. And the more I think about that, the more I'm like, is it or is it not? And I took it to heart and seriously, and it's getting closer. Dead Man's Chest and La La Land. But I think it's still La La Land for me, and that comes from what I think La La Land does for me, which is it captures pure unbridled joy on film. Like you can tell everyone who made it loves movies and loves the art of storytelling. And I think the undervalued part of this movie is the script, what Damien Chazelle wrote, the story he made, which I think is a really beautiful story about chasing your dreams and ambition and what you're willing to sacrifice to get it. It is a companion piece to Whiplash in like the light side of the same coin, where Whiplash is like the dark side of ambition and all the evil shit you can do to each other because of getting what you want. And La La Land is like, look how great getting what you want can be. And like, but also what you let go and sacrifice to get it. It's like a theme Damien Chazelle puts in actually every single one of his movies. And I think this is the best that he does at covering the idea of going after your dreams and chasing them. And I think that's why I think the ending is so powerful. Is like I get it. I'm with Brian. I like these two so much that I want it to be happy. And I think that's because they made the movie so well that you're like, damn it, I want them to be happy together. They need to be together. Because I love Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. But I think the ending is so much more powerful the way it is because they get what they want, but they have at the cost of each other. And I think that's sort of the underpinning of the movie, and it's so tragic, but I think it's beautiful. And as the one thing you guys said that I took major issue, I guess two major issues with is like, I get that if you're like, I think the songs are really catchy. I think someone in the crowd is close to being my favorite song.
John Legend one is good because he can sing.
I like every song in the movie. I love City of Stars. I think City of Stars didn't deserve the Oscar, but I love that song. And like, I don't know. I think that the songs are all good. It's the same people who made fucking Greatest Showman. They can write a hit. But I think that the other thing for me that I thought was weird was like the criticism that it doesn't look real. And I'm like, the movie's kind of title should signal to you that it's not going to be 100% realistic. They're literally living in La La Land. So everything is going to feel a little dreamlike. Everything's going to feel a little glitz and glamoury. And I kind of like that.
And the musical by nature is unnatural.
But you can't do like that's a fine line, but you can't just assume like everything's a little, but it's not a little. It's like there's real like it's not set up as a dream. It's not set up as fake. It's not set up as anything.
It's very simple. From I'm getting a degree in drama. This is how musicals work. It's all real except when it's not, and as long as you know that, you're good.
My thing is, I expect you to be defending of this movie because that's it's your favorite movie of all time. Like it's like when the Lion King doesn't get a lot of bash, but like when I like The Departed, for example. Departed's a fantastic movie for me. The accents suck. Well, you just don't stop. That's nitpicky.
Or The Rat,
or The Rat, or my same thing with The Irishman. They're like, oh, well, that CGI looks really bad. Well, yeah, but look at everything else in the film. Like, you're looking at that's one scene. Like, knock it off. Like, there's so many things I expect you to defend. That makes perfect sense. But my thing is, the songs being catchy is something that I just can't get with because I just watched it. And I know none of it. And I've seen this movie 3 times for your sake twice now. But for, like... I can't keep it going. So
for me, it's so hard for me to imagine watching this movie and not walking away just humming either the Another Day of Sun, the bum 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 ba dum ba dum bum 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 ba dum ba dum bum bum. Like that is my like loading.
I know that
music in my brain is like when I'm trying to think of anything, it's that or for me.
What was in theaters the same day you saw this?
What?
What was in theaters the same day you saw this?
I saw this on January 1st, 2017.
Because I'm just thinking, what if you went to the theater and saw something different that day? What movie would have been your favorite?
You know what? I'll do research on this while you guys keep talking about other things. But like, the last sort of big thing for me,
I'm on it right now.
La La Land is also just like like City of Stars. Like I think that melody is catchy as fuck. I don't know I don't know. I think it's all. I think the music
La
is
La
great.
Land came out on the same day as Office Christmas Party.
Thank you. Yeah, 17-year-old me would have, or yeah, 17-year-old me would have gone and seen that.
Sounds a great double feature
If
for
you
me.
went to the theater a week later, we'd be talking about Collateral Beauty right now.
Obviously.
It's bad enough to talk about Moonlight, okay?
That's
Which didn't even
my
deserve to
other
be nominated
thing
for
is
Best Picture, much less win. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm actually with what Brian just said, where it's like I am the person. I guess maybe I whatever because I like the movie. I'm so tired of the La La Land Moonlight joke. It's been done to death for a decade. I'm tired of it. I think the best La La Land Moonlight joke to ever be told, that is still my favorite, is when Guillermo del Toro wins his Oscar for Best Picture. He looks at the envelope, holds it up and smiles like, "Hey, it's real," and that's it. I think that's the best joke anyone's ever made about La La Land Moonlight. So
still plays for me. I don't have trauma built into it though, so it's funny for me.
I went to bed believing La La Land won. I woke up the next day and found out it didn't. Like that was trauma.
Yeah, see, yours is traumatic. Like your dad said he was coming back with milk and never came back. You know, like I don't have that problem. You know.
No, his dad came to the door with the milk, and then someone shot his dad.
Yeah, for real.
Okay. Okay. Next movie. Oh, we're getting scores. Koho, what's your rating? Sorry, I'm in a debate match setup, and I just got flipping answers. This is the worst time of my life.
No,
go ahead.
Best movie I've ever seen.
What's your rating?
5 stars.
Brian?
I think I originally put it in a 4.5, but it's made up to a 5 in recent years, so it's 5.
Cam.
I'm back and forth, but I'll say a 3.
Kirk.
Yeah, this time it's dropped down slightly for me to 3.
And I'm at 3. I'm at 3 stars as well. Okay. Our next one is this should be interesting. The Breakfast Club. Kirk, La La Land, top 100 movie of all time, or should not be there?
No, it's not. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it's not top 1. I mean, that's going to be take a drink. This top 100. Take a drink every time I say decent movie shouldn't be in the top 100.
They will get alcohol poisoning, Kirk.
Probably. I don't, take responsibility for that.
Okay, so everybody on Breakfast Club, I kicked it off. We of course have to wait for Kirk near the end. Leaning positive. I would assume maybe the bottom two, Cameron and Brian. Who's positive on this movie and who's negative on this movie? Breakfast Club.
I'm mostly positive.
Positive.
Okay, Kirk, you're on an island because I'm also positive. So, this should be fun. So go ahead. Whoever wants to... Yeah, right. Whoever wants to start it and take it away, go for it. I got you for the next.
I'll start. Breakfast Club. I didn't get to see this one in theaters. Got to see a lot of the Hughes stuff in theaters, but not this one. But I mean, this one, John Hughes movies just in general really changed teen movies forever. I mean, for the longest time, movies were made for adults. I mean, movies, and then there's stuff for kids and family films. But like that teen audience, which kind of is now like the bread and butter of the movie industry, that kind of became the target audience in the 80s. And John Hughes was at the forefront of that teen comedy thing. He had his thumb on the pulse. He was able to write for teenagers where, it was still fun. It spoke to them, but it also didn't talk down to them. It kind of treated them like, real people. They're young people, developing into adults, but they were still people with real personalities and real problems and things like that. And I think a lot of people liked that it didn't, talk down to them like that. I mean, I think Breakfast Club is probably one of the best examples of that. Because, I mean, you kind of have this microcosm of, high school. Every movie now has they walk through the cafeteria and they point out all the different cliques of people. And it's kind of started that. You have the the burnout, you have the criminal, you have the geek or the brain, you know, all the different kinds of people, and they kind of put all the characters in a room and 90% of the movie is just conversation. I mean, there's very little that actually happens in this movie. There are a few things here and there, but I just think that it's very well made. It's very well written. I mean, it's been, you know, copied 1,000 times. But it just, I hadn't rewatched this in actually several years. I think I didn't even have it rated on Letterboxd, which means I haven't watched it in at least 10 years. So I got to at least not in full, and I rewatched it this past week, and I still love it just as much as I ever did. And I'm not going to say that the 5 kids are all, you know, great thespians in terms of acting and things like that, but I think that it does a great job of doing what it's trying to do. It's just create a great teen movie that, you know, gives a lot of different points of view. And I got more to say, but I'll let you guys talk first.
Yeah, I'll hop in as another person who really likes this movie. Yeah. I also had not seen this in a weirdly long amount of time. Like I too was a person who was like, I have it rated, but I hadn't logged it on Letterboxd, which means it's been like 4 or 5 years. And yeah, I still really like this one. This is a movie that, like, I think especially you watch it for the first time when you're a teenager and you're like, hey, these are teenagers who seem like real people. Like, they are people I know or people I am in some way or another. And I think, yeah, you just get like these very, I'm not going to say like very real conversations, because I think there is a lot of it that is very like played up, very exaggerated. But I think you get like, as much as it's an exaggerated version, you kind of get the core of like what teenagers go through back then, and even like still nowadays. You get to see like just how real and relatable it kind of can be. You get these characters, you get these moments of fun, you get these moments of emotion, you get these 5 characters who all are so clear and distinct and their own people. And the way they interact and the relationships, they feel very real. And like, it's not that I don't have my problems with it. I think that there are parts of this movie that flat out don't work for me. Namely, I think the entire makeover at the end of Ali Sheedy's character is stupid and it has no reason to be occurring. But that doesn't undo all the things I like about it. Does it hold it back from being a perfect movie? Absolutely. But does it keep it from being a movie I love? No. This is still a movie that, rewatching it, I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I remembered why I like it as much as I do, as much as like it's probably not as high in my top 100 list as it was before, maybe even not there. I went down on it a little bit. It's still a movie that I really like and that I think is very good.
So I think that John Hughes is one of the most prolific and talented writers. Just like his ability to turn out a script that was polished and ready to shoot like in a weekend is insane.
Have you seen Weird Science?
Yeah, there you go. But I also think that I also think he has a very distinct voice. He's one of those writers that like his voice and what he wants to talk about and the way his characters talk is like unique to this guy, like so strongly. Which makes it really fun to watch his stuff. Because you just really feel like you're listening to this guy's thoughts just bleed out through these people. I like Breakfast Club. I think the Breakfast Club is a weird microcosm of 2 different ideas. It's dated in the sense that it is time period, it's specific lingo and stuff like that is dated to the time. But the themes of the Breakfast Club are timeless in a way that it transcends to you watch it today and you can kind of you can kind of understand and you can definitely relate to what they're going through. And I think that's what's special about John Hughes. Because I think the best filmmakers are able to make things that are perfect for their time period, and yet the idea lives on well past it. And I think this movie does that really well.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm kind of positive. I'm positive on the movie. I do not think this movie is a bad movie by any means. I don't understand that, and I will listen to somebody on this call explain that. I like the group of people that go to the same school and spend every day in the same hallways, forced to be together and like create conversations between that. And I love the dialogue. Sure, I don't. I'm just one, and I wish more people would do this, but I can't tell you how to judge movies. But like, so many people put like microscopes over movies from the '80s in 2024 lenses and say, "Can you believe they're saying this?" or "Can you believe they're doing this?" or "They're doing that?" Like, times are different. Like, times are completely different. Like, things that were and I'm not saying they're acceptable and they should be like, you should like put in your letterbox review, man, I'm really glad they stuck to their guns and said these choice words. Like, sure, that's not the case to be, but like, we're judging it on a lens that they had no idea that it was ever going to be under those lenses, or that the thing was going to change in that direction. Like how I went to high school and how I interacted with my friends would be, I wouldn't be on the internet right now. Like, I wouldn't be. Like, there's no way. There was stuff that you were able to say and jokes that you were able to make, and like the comedy has switched so much. So, like, this movie, an example, is like how I imagine, again, wasn't there, how kids in the 80s would have communicated with each other and talked to each other and interacted. And it's kind of nice to be like in a time machine and go back and experience that life with these kids for such a short minute, and what they're going through at home and what they're dealing with and how they're interacting. And sure, is the acting like top tier? No, I wouldn't say that, but like I think that's kind of the charm of it a little bit in this regards for me. I love the soundtrack. I love the music in it. Like, it's so much fun. I love the principal. That will probably be a contention.
Paul Gleason
but
was one of the great assholes of the '80s. Him and William
I
Atherton.
just think he's great. You want another one? No. Yeah.
Oh, and,
Like-
and he's a person who like absolutely should not be a principal of a school.
Oh,
Should not be working in the education system whatsoever.
that's before an HR
But
department.
it's like,
you
yeah,
really
this
needs
is
to.
a silly, cartoony dick of a principal as a villain. You're like, yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts of the entire movie is when he takes the screw out of the door and it flings open and he gets
He gets the chair.
Emilio Estevez character to come pull it out. It's like, you can't do that, Parker. What are you doing? Get out of here! Like, it's such a stupid, because he's not the one who makes stupid stuff.
Tries to
Again,
prop
it's some
up
of
with
that
the chair.
charm.
It's like, that's not gonna work.
And you're not in it for too long, right? It's such a short movie, and I would say there's movies probably from John Hughes that I like. I definitely like more than this. Like, there's no question about that. Even high school movies that I like a little bit more. But like, and I'm a sucker, and I know I'm going to get a huge eye roll from somebody on the show. But that ending like monologue that he's just giving or whatever, or like when they're all talking and that, sometimes I'm just like, let's go, it's so good. So overall, enjoyed it. I had not logged on Letterboxd since I got Letterboxd. So 2019 is when I first like became a steady person logging everything on Letterboxd. So I haven't seen it since then, and probably before that, I would say high school maybe. It's been a while, but I had a lot of fun. I'm glad is it top 100? Probably not. If I'm being 100% transparent, I don't think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. But I'm really glad it exists, because I think it's like a peek into a life that I have no business or speaking on or knowing what it was like at all. So yeah, the floor is yours, Mr. Kirk.
Okay. I'm trying to watch all these movies as I rewatch them through a fresh lens, and try, even if it's something I don't like, even if it's a horrible embarrassment of a movie, try to find something in it that that I can cling to and say, I can see why people like this. This movie, still nothing. I've heard the phrase that these are real people multiple times, which blows my freaking mind. They might be like relatable in the fact that they are so incredibly generic that sure, you're going to find something that you can relate to in something because they're so generic and blank. If you pay attention to the movies, I like my least favorite movies are movies about characters who are based on stereotypes or tropes. And the fact that this whole movie, the whole point is that they're all stereotypes, is automatically makes me hate it. It would be possible to do something interesting with that, but they don't. Like, if you do, like, it's very obvious, we're all stereotypes, and we're all pissed at our parents. Big, shock at the end. But they don't do that. You know, John Bender could be, instead of being probably the worst character in the history of movies, he could be a good character if like they put like layers to him. But as soon as he's on the screen, they show you this guy is just a baby who's crying out for attention because mommy and daddy don't love him. And by the way, tangent, don't blame them. Everything he says they say about him, absolutely true. If he was my kid, he wouldn't get Christmas presents either. Wouldn't even get the pack of cigarettes. That guy sucks. And the dialogue, god awful. I don't know if somebody said they liked the dialogue. Dialogue is god awful. Even for the 80s, the dialogue is bad. Like just terrible, like one-liners and like supposed to be funny jokes. And I'm not even talking about the offensive stuff. I'm just talking about the way it's written. It's so bad. Brian said that very little happens, and he's correct. That's something I realized in this movie. This movie very accurately portrays the boredom of a Saturday afternoon detention. Like they just sitting there doing nothing. It felt, like you said, it was fast. It felt much longer than it is. Cody, you mentioned the ending, how great the ending is. The ending makes no sense.
I didn't say it was great. I said I'm a sucker for it.
The thing they read at the end. Somebody tell me, how did Emilio Estevez learn that he was a brain? When did that happen in the movie? When did John Bender learn he was a princess? It's just stupid crap. The whole script is just stupid crap that makes no sense. And it's wrapped up in a terrible package. I think Cameron might be the only one who gets this. This movie is a feature-length youth group skit with swearing. That's what the whole thing is. That's what this movie.
For the record, Kaleb Koho was also a youth group kid.
Okay,
so
well then you guys yeah, that's exactly what this movie is.
And I will tell you right now, I am the kind of person who, like, now being in a place where like I was doing teaching at schools, and we had like, we get like the anti-bullying play where like the people travel around. It's the worst thing. It's even worse than it was when I was a kid, because now I'm like, I'm an adult who pursued the arts, and I have the ability at a stable career, and these guys are going around doing a skit about cyberbullying to pay the bills.
Yeah, and that's what this movie feels like. It feels like one of those skits. That's the whole movie feels like to me.
If you want to see the youth group skit, there's a reimagining of this that came out a couple years ago called The Class. It's Anthony Michael Hall shows up, and I want to say he's like the principal now or something like that. It's got the same janitor in it. Debbie Gibson's like the teacher or something. Anyway, that's just like, if you want to see the youth group version of it, that's a horrible. Anyway.
So, does Breakfast Club deserve to be in top 100?
You asking me?
Yeah, you're the one casting votes out of the time.
What do you think? I mean, La La Land.
Yes, from Kirk. Moving
after this movie, La La Land, etch it in stone on this list.
Yeah. Don't. Sorry, it's love up. Have a blast.
Sorry to suck all the way out of the room, but
is that the Dominic Rizzi?
That's a trick.
Forget about me. Final answer.
I think they're looking for the tractor. Final answer. One of the best moments in trivia history.
That's my favorite. Is like he said, like that said so confidently, and as Rizzi's like, no, wait, no, and then just like, and they're calling and your winner, and there's trying to be objections.
Anything else we want to point out from Breakfast Club before we get scores on it?
So why would you call it that? They have lunch, but no breakfast.
Severe lack of the Newsboy song "Breakfast" on the soundtrack.
Okay, I'm cleared of all Christian youth group stereotypes from now on, and those get moved over.
I once watched Newsboys in concert, and they were on a drum set that spun around. It was wild.
Oh yeah, dude, Duncan Phillips follows me on Instagram. I don't know why.
The one other thing
I was like, man, the Lord has blessed you to spin and play guitar, and play drums. That's
the miracle is you get to shred face at 90 degrees.
The one other thing I will say about this movie upon rewatch is I'm watching it and realizing that kind of after this movie, you kind of would have thought that Judd Nelson would be the big breakout star of it, because like he seems to have like the most personality. He's kind of the main of the kids, kind of the main character, and you kind of would have thought he'd have this big career out of it, but he kind of turned out to have like the smallest career. I mean, he showed up like New Jack City, and Airheads and From
Transformers
the
the
Hip
movie.
and stuff. And it's like even Anthony Michael Hall's gone on to do bigger stuff than him. So it's kind of
Right.
surprised me.
Brian's like, yeah.
Hey, you put some respect on Steel.
If
Kirk
they-
is like, none of these kids should have gotten any careers after this.
I mean, at all.
I think it's a
Locked in
little
that
bold of
room
you,
for the
Kirk,
rest
by
of
the
their
way,
life.
that says he's a terrible kid. You're saying they're not like, yeah, they're punk kids, but you have to like treat them with some decency at home, or they're gonna act like shitheads, you know?
If he acts like that at home, he deserves what he gets. I'm just saying.
Kirk's like, this kid was a
Maybe it's a
mistake.
Branson man too.
Kirk, have you read your son's letterbox?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't cast the stone too far, buddy. All right, we're getting star rating. I'm at 4 stars. Definitely will be in the revisit. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I had a lot of fun with it. And again, it's so short. Like, it's great. And you're in and out. Like, have a lot of fun. And I got you. You mess with the bull, you get the horn. Great. Koho.
4 stars. I think there are better John Hughes like movies, but I get if you're gonna pick a quintessential one, this is kind of the one. But,
Yeah, I am mad that a John Hughes did not make the list. That should have made the list, but I digress. I wasn't on the poll. Cam.
I considered giving this a 5, but then I watched Weird Science also over the weekend and realized just how good a John Hughes movie can truly be. So this is a 4.5. Weird Science is the movie Cody is referencing when he says, "Oh, you watch an '80s movie and realize how problematic it is."
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Brian.
It's not in my top 100. It's not even my favorite John Hughes movies. I mean, I prefer Ferris Bueller and Some Kind of Wonderful, which actually he wrote and produced but didn't direct. It's not his direction. But I still really enjoy this movie. I give it 4 stars.
Kirk. Have we grown? Have we realized what a half a star means?
Yes, we have. Weird Science is Seven Samurai compared to this movie. This still gets a half star for me. It hasn't changed. One of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Half. They at least turned on the camera and they actually like shot it
shouldn't have,
well.
though.
That's-
That might have been the mistake. John spent that weekend
Uh.
writing the script. Could have done something much better with it.
Could have been writing the script to Weird Science 2.
Okay.
Weirder Science.
Well, Kirk was one way. I'm gonna be this on this way. So we're going to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I don't like this movie. I just don't. I was told to like this when I was little because, like, oh, it's a kid's movie. One, it creeped the shit out of me when I was a child. It didn't help. Like, that fucking tunnel scene is fucking terrifying when you're a child. So, did not have a blast with that overall. Yes, let me get away with a few of these. Gene Wilder, yes, good, great character, blah, blah. I just don't care about these. You want to talk about shit kids? Let's talk about every shit kid in this movie that they get into one factory. Like, if I was Willie, I would have drowned Veruca Salt in the fucking river before we even got to the eggs, like, or turned her into a blueberry. Mikey TV, I would have kicked that kid like straight somewhere. Like, they're awful. They're just terrible little kids. It begs the question too, like, what is Willie like doing? Like, what's going wrong in his life? I bet they're in like tax fucking hell. Like, he hadn't paid his taxes or something. He's just gifting this fucking chocolate factory that's gonna bank, like, ridden his family for decades because he's just giving this factory away that has no basis. I won't beat the dead horse that the fucking grandparents are the shittiest characters in movie history, that they're just laying. The fuckers are eating cabbage soup, which I don't know if you know what cabbage. It's basically water.
It's
So
water.
they just it's water and water to make water. They're all like laying around, and he comes in with that golden ticket, and fucking Joe just pops up and starts dancing. Bitch, you better dance your way to the coal mines because you're about to start making some money for this family.
We could have walked this whole time, sucker.
Like, They should have just put the pillow over their fucking faces while they're there. There'd be less mouths to feed. There's no like reasoning behind these
More
things.
fucking cabbage soup for the rest of them.
Like the Oompa Loompas are like creepy as shit, and they're possibly just like slaves to Willie. Like overall, like it just has some more. Like I just remember like when it opened up and was like, oh, like this is something like. Because it's bright colors, it's exciting. Like, what if I was little? And a chocolate factory? Hell yeah! Now I'm 32, about to be 33. I'm just like, these kids fucking suck. A chocolate factory sounds like the shittiest job possible. There's a chocolate river running in there. That's a health code violation. It's getting shut down tomorrow. Like, it's just so many problems.
That wasn't even chocolate. It was brown water.
Even one of my big things is like Augustus goes over to the river and starts drinking. Just like, don't touch my chocolate. Don't touch my chocolate. And then a boat comes sailing through the chocolate. Not
because everyone knows boats are clean.
Also, after he told them, go eat anything you want.
Yeah,
everything's edible.
It's a drink though. It's liquid chocolate. It's a drink.
I know he drank the tea.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool. Like the practical, like the whole thing being made, and they can pick things up. Like that was cool. That was interesting. Pure imagination. Like great song. I mean, I speak like Willie was like, "Oh no, don't stop, please stop," and just lets it happen. Like those are fun, but like overall, Gene Wilder, one of the greatest like portrayals, and what we get later. Now, I haven't seen Punch You in the Face Timothy Chalamet, but Johnny Depp is like that's a whole nother world that I just didn't know was imagined.
But this isn't the
Like,
Johnny Depp version. I
What?
watched the wrong movie. I watched the wrong movie.
Oh, doing the Zach Ford. Watch Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of Black Pearl when you need dementia.
Wait, are we talking about the
yeah.
TV show Sleepy Hollow?
But overall, I don't get it. Like, and I honestly think it's a lot of nostalgia on this movie where people rank it. That's my opinion. I just think there's a ton of nostalgia around Willy Wonka that makes people be like, "Oh, Willy's great." It's really not. It really isn't. It's Gene Wilder and a bunch of shit kids. Like, if we're being real honest, and he just wants to get the fuck out of that factory. He's like, "You can have it all. Let's ride the thing." Everybody else, I don't know how everybody else sits on this, how positive or negative. A top 100 film is absolutely laughable, and I wish I could get Andrew Barr here to tell him like how dumb he was because he put this high.
So I think Willy Wonka is a story that each of the three adaptations has like an element or two that are really good, and if you maybe layered a piece from each one, you could find maybe a pretty good movie by putting them all together. But I think individually each take doesn't quite stand alone on its own. I think this is probably the best of the three attempts as a standalone movie. I think that's mostly on the back of Gene Wilder, who I think is just really good in the movie. But I think inherently the Roald Dahl story is just it's one of the harder ones to really get behind or really. I think Roald Dahl's a bad author to be totally real with people, so I'm not a fan of this. So a lot of the stories that Roald Dahl put out, it's like not my thing. There's a reason Wes Anderson keeps going back to that well. He's the only person I guess who kind of gets the fucking sensibility of that guy. But I think Willy Wonka is just like not a story that can stand alone for an hour and 45 minutes.
Anybody else?
When I was like 12 years old, this would have been my top 20. And I still really like it. I think it's still a good movie. I think a lot of the things people complain about, like the grandparents in the bed for 20 years, I think that's just a weird Roald Dahl touch that they have to put in the movie. Like, I don't really think of that as, I don't blame that on the characters. And I was paying attention because I know that's everybody's complaint is Grandpa Joe. And I was watching, I think they sprinkle in enough, ideas of why he's been bedridden all that time and why the golden ticket's able to wake him up to the point where I don't like hate the character for it. But I think it's a good movie. I think, like you said, Gene Wilder's fun. Just like the out of placeness of it, where like it's filmed in Germany, most of the people are English. But like the main characters are American. Just it doesn't feel like it's in any real place, which is when I was a kid I didn't love that, but the older I get I like it more. I think it's really funny. I love the comedy. Like my favorite bits are like when they're waiting for all the tickets to get found. My favorite moment in the movie is they took my husband 12 hours ago. What do they want? Like they want your case of Wonka bars. Lady, did you hear me? It's either your husband's life or your case of Wonka bars. How long will they give you to think it over? That's the greatest moment in the movie. Just little things like the guy at the computer and everything like that. Just little stuff like that. I love that dry sense of humor it has. It's like 45 minutes. Most of the movie I think is outside the factory. Like it's like 45 minutes till you get to the actual factory, and you have that build up, which is odd. It's really weird pacing, but it makes it like better once you get there, because once you're in, you're like rushing through the factory. It doesn't take you too long to get to the end. My favorite thing, we were talking about the weird Oompa Loompa stuff. I love the fact that the Oompa Loompas are like singing a song criticizing Augustus Gloop for eating too much, while they're pouring giant sacks of white sugar into the chocolate. Like they have no like sense of responsibility for that at all. And also the fact that like when they're writing this, I don't know like how much of like the songs and like the lessons come from the book and how much they wrote those for the movie, but I love it's like, yeah, the kid's a brat, that's a bad thing they need to change. We should like teach kids lessons on that. Watching too much TV, eating too much, yeah, that's all things that kids shouldn't do. And that's chewing too much gum. We're gonna do a whole. Was that a big problem in the 70s of kids chewing too much gum, that we had to do a whole segment of the movie and a musical number about chewing too much gum, which is kind of weird. But no, overall, I think it's a solid movie. Again, I don't know if it's top 100 worthy. Asked me 20 years ago, I probably would do something different. But still, I think it's really solid.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Like this is a good-ish movie. I don't love it. I think there's there's a lot of stuff about this movie that is just weird for the sake of being weird, which is the whole Roald Dahl thing, where like, why is every person married to someone who has functionally the same name as them? Why is Joe married to Josephine? Why is George married to Georgina? Why is Henry Salt married to Henrietta Salt? Because Roald Dahl is a lazy writer, I guess. And yeah, like it's just very, I don't know. Like again, the music, most of it's not memorable outside of Pure Imagination, which I think is a great song. But even then, like Gene Wilder, not the greatest singer there either. The Oompa Loompa songs are all just like weird and mostly annoying, and they're just kind of there for the sake of being there. Same with like Cheer Up Charlie. Like we don't need that song here. I usually forget that it's a thing, and I'm like, right, that's a thing that happened. And then like same with the song about the guy who sells candy, where they're like, we need a song about the guy who sells candy. Well, what's it going to be about? It's going to be about how he's a guy who sells candy. And that's all it is. I think like obviously Gene Wilder is fantastic. I think the production design of it is very good. Like when you're actually in the factory and like getting to see all these things, it's like, whoa, that's really cool. A fun fact is that the swans is not in the book. In the book and in the 2005 one, it's squirrels. But they literally were like, we can't do this scene if we use real squirrels, and we don't have CGI as a thing to make fake squirrels. So we need to find a different thing. So we're doing big old geese who lay golden eggs, because we can't just have a room full of squirrels. Like the kids are like, in terms of performances, they're fine, but like all of them except for Charlie are pretty annoying. Just like, yeah, it's also this thing of like, it's supposed to be this big mystery where all of these golden tickets are, but every time someone finds a golden ticket, immediately that one guy who works for Wonka is just there right away as they're finding it and reporting it to be in on this conversation.
I have a thought about that. Like he shows up, and it turns out, spoiler alert, that he really works for Willy Wonka. So Wonka knows who's going to get the golden tickets. and these are the kids he picked to potentially win the factory. So when you really put any thought into that, it just kind of blows the whole thing. Because like maybe Mike TV was going to win the factory. Who knows? It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like I'm
Or
seeing
he is
going,
the
like,
worst
which
scouting
Grandpa
department
is possible.
possible.
and should be now re-eligible for conscription into whatever war was happening at the time.
These would be the same scouts from Moneyball to decipher who should be taken. These kids, because
Mike
they
Beaton
missed on
always gets on base.
This is the Billy Bean of baseball prospects, because my TV and all these kids suck so bad. Like, you can't look at freaking Augustus Gloop and be like, yeah, that's the guy running the factory. No, this kid's
But
going to
he
drink out
knows
of the
his
fountain.
chocolate.
Yeah.
He knows the chocolate.
The only way it makes sense is if he just wanted Charlie from the beginning, and these other kids were just there to like be part of the test. You know?
To be murdered.
But how does he want Charlie from the
That's
beginning? That's creepy. That's creepy. How does he know? Because
Honestly,
he
yeah,
watches his
that's
mom
Much
make
like
cabbage
Willy Wonka,
soup, and he's
Andrew
like,
Barr
I
is
like
a
that
menace
kid.
for putting this on the list.
Yeah, he is.
I like that guy. Koho. It's Koho and Brian are the last two, right? They haven't talked about this?
No, I already talked about it.
He already talked about it. I think it's just me.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me start off by saying Gene Wilder's blameless. He's awesome in this. The character's great in this. Is singing like, well, again, it's not a professional singer. I think he's great in this. I love his deadpan delivery. I love the fact that he kind of gives this, this air of almost disdain for the kids. He doesn't care about them. And I love that personality that he puts into it. So Gene Wilder aside, he's good. The rest of this movie is just awful. First of all, it's so very 70s in all the worst ways. From the look of it to the style of it to the songs of it, everything's horrible. The songs are really, really, really bad. The Imagination one, that one's actually the one that is decent. But otherwise, I hate the songs in this movie. Again, very 70s. I mean, when songs are like doing on-screen sing-along shit because it's just fucking 70s. Because why not? They think it's Sesame Street or something. Which that whole thing with the Oompa Loompas, I've never liked the Oompa Loompas at all. And I think they're, again, kind of creepy here, but I do give them credit for using actual like little people and not, a CG monstrosity with a floating Hugh Grant head like the new one does, because that one just looks even worse. But yeah, this movie, one of my first notes I wrote down when I was rewatching this was something Kirk already said. It's like, it really takes 45 minutes to even get to the factory, and everything before that is just a slog to get through. You're just like waiting and waiting and waiting for the kind of movie to kind of pick up. But the problem is once it gets to the factory, then it's just like a scene to get rid of each kid. It's just like it kind of deals to the end of it, and you're just like, I don't really even care where this movie's going. I don't care that. I don't even really like Charlie as grandpa. I don't know why he gets a pass at the end when they broke the rules too. But suddenly it's okay for them, even though they took the stuff from floating to the ceiling. And it's
also like, it needs to be said, the movie spends so long being like, Charlie never gonna get a golden ticket, as though he's not the main character of your movie, right, based on a book called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, that is that. But yeah, I mean, I've never understood the love for this movie. When I was a kid, sure, I enjoyed watching it, but then again, when I was a kid, there was a lot of shit, and we couldn't watch a lot of good movies. VHS didn't exist when I watched this as a kid, so I couldn't even rent good movies. But I don't understand. Like you said, it's probably mostly nostalgia, but I don't even know who has good nostalgia for this movie, because, like I said, it's just a slog to get through. And even if you enjoy it, there are so many better movies, and Top 100 is a joke.
I will say too about Gene Wilder's performance. That final scene when they're in the office, I don't know what other actor could pull that off, because he's playing it 100% straight. Like he's going on that tirade, he's screaming, but he's reading that contract. He's in that ridiculous office with everything's half. He has like the half magnifying glass and the half contract, and he's screaming gibberish. But it's like 100% like totally like he's playing it completely straight, reading that gibberish. And just such a great performance. And no, I don't think anybody else could do that besides him.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I watched this movie in probably over 10 years. I just don't care. It never hit. I like when I scroll Letterboxd and like go to the 70s, I'm like, oh yeah, Willy Wonka. Yeah, not today. And just keep going. And then after watching, I'm like, probably should have kept going. But yeah, you're right. Gene Wilder, like, he's a positive, but like, he just doesn't beat these children, which he should. Just my biggest problem.
Go all the way
all
and
right.
murder the kids.
Yeah, just dump him in the river. I don't care. Like, you literally, like, creepy, like, know enough about Charlie that says he could run a factory. Wild. Koho, what's your rating?
I give it 3. I think there's stuff to like, but not enough for me to like enjoy the movie as a whole.
Brian.
I give it 2, and they're both just for Gene Wilder.
Kirk.
You all make good arguments. Brian, especially, I think like everything he said is valid. But I still enjoy it enough. I still like it. I give it 3.5. And when we get off call, remind me to tell you about the time I met the guy that played my TV.
Oh, you're such a dick. Cam?
Yeah, I give this 3 stars. It's good-ish.
I've watched a lot of Fandom this year. So as harsh as I used to be, I can't be anymore. It's 3 stars. 3 stars.
Change you.
Well, like, it has. Like, I've watched them. Like, La La Land's not a 2-star movie anymore. It's a 3-star movie. It has passable marks. It's just.
Look, man.
I have seen some shit. You ever seen
Now
Predator
you
2?
watch the
I have
world.
seen some shit.
TC.
And that's the higher part. That's the higher part of 2 stars. Predator 2. Okay. Final 2 movies of the night. If I remember.
You have 3 left.
No, we do not.
I do not.
Land, Breakfast Club, Willy Wonka.
Oh, never mind. I think I watched the wrong movie first. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Hey, like it. Wouldn't be the first time.
I think I probably watched one from the other show, and I just had it in my mind that was part of this one. Okay.
That makes sense. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. A Few Good Men. It was written by somebody. I don't think he's very popular, like very good. Does anybody know who wrote this movie?
Brad Garrett?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
They're telling you would have never guessed.
Yeah, it's A Few Good Men. Aaron Sorkin written, Rob Reiner in his run. I think it was in his like insane run of movies. I know some, like, I think a lot of people are on, and Kirk told me he led with this a couple nights ago that he told me he had something to say about Tom Cruise. So I'm interested in that. Everybody's seen this movie prior, I'm hoping. This is one of the movies that I cannot watch on, like, I like if I'm around people, like, it's a bad time. Like, I have to, like, we did it on a call one time. I had to mute myself. Because when that Jack Nicholson scene starts, I can't help myself. It is literally like I have no control over my body or what I'm doing. It's one of the most iconic scenes in film. Like, I have so much fun with it. I think Nicholson is the perfect amount of coked out Nicholson at this point in the 90s. Like, he is like giving it in this role. I think everybody in this movie gives an all-star performance. I used to say this is a 4-star movie with a 5-star scene at the end. I think me and Kirk shared that sentiment at one point. I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that if Kirk's different. But I'm way different now. I think it's an awesome movie through and through. I think like the setup, the build up, the trial. I think it like gives a whole nother. I've said this on when I was trying to get Scott here tonight because this is Scott's favorite movie, so I wanted Scott to like be able to talk about it, but he couldn't make it. But I think it's just something awesome because this is like, I love courtroom movies, but this like has a different element with military and ranking and like how it all works. Like, I think that's just crazy. I think it just has different levels of it. So I've talked about it a lot. I've gushed about it a lot. It's so much fun to rewatch. Like, I have so much fun with it, especially as it builds up. And you're a lousy baseball player, a softball player. I think it's softball player. It's such a good line. So, Kirk, I'm going to go with you first because I'm interested to see how you took So, because you said you had something interesting in Tom Cruise, and then we'll all.
I mean,
break
not.
out.
I mean, not. I mean, I think it's things that.
And then okay, I don't maybe leading it too much. It's not the most
Yeah.
groundbreaking thing, but you said something. So
It's yeah. I mean, I still kind of feel the way that you said. Like, I think this is a good movie that gets great when Jack Nicholson is on screen. Specifically that last scene. Unfortunately, he's only in like 4 scenes. As far as Tom Cruise go, I'm not a Tom Cruise guy, so like he is at best doing nothing for me in this movie. At times, he's actively bad, and I don't necessarily think it's his fault. I think he gets some of the worst dialogue in the script. That scene at the end where he's doing like the game show thing is just so over the top and so bad. But just like all his little one-liners to prove like how flippant he is and how much he doesn't care are just kind of like really forced. And I don't love his character, but that final scene is just so amazing. Just like the chess game that's being played between those two characters. I said this is basically like reverse Up, where Up is a mediocre movie with a fantastic scene at the beginning. This is a good movie that has that fantastic scene at the end. There's a reason why that's what everybody remembers about this movie. And I think, like I said, Nicholson's performance, like I said, it's a different movie when he's on screen. Like I think it just turns into a different thing. And he's so much fun to watch. He's that villain who like is completely convinced that he's right and he's doing and you see how far he goes in his belief of his rightness. But I just love the way he plays that. I love the speech at the end. I just love the cat and mouse between him and Tom Cruise. That moment where, just him deciding how far he's going to push it, if he's going to go for it or not. And to me, that's kind of a detriment to the rest of the movie, because at the end, it's kind of like everything else that happened doesn't really matter. It just comes down to whether or not he can get Jessup to admit that he ordered the code red. Like everything else is like, well, this didn't work out. This didn't work out. It just is one thing. So it's like, well, what the rest of the story was kind of all for naught. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I love Kevin Pollak in this movie. I think he's really good. I love his character and just the way he plays off of Tom Cruise and the way he plays off of Demi Moore. I think he's a really good supporting character in this. So yeah, I'm not on as high on the complete movie as everybody else is, but I think it has some all-time great moments in it.
Just before everybody else goes, the only thing I disagree with what you said was that, well, I think what they end up pushing with is they have the flight log guys coming in after the thing. Isn't that what happens in the movie?
But they're a bluff. They're a bluff.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a bull. Yeah, but you're right. Okay, then they have to get them to correct that. That's right. That's right.
And to be fair, I think almost every courtroom drama movie ends with like some big revelation. You're getting someone to admit something, and the whole movie on any corporate drama, you can kind of say didn't have anything to do with anything. It's just that last thing that finally clinches the win.
Right.
Whatever.
Which is awesome.
So I think Aaron Sorkin is one of the greatest writers of all time, and I love him as a writer. I think that this is one of those movies that is like really special. Like from page one of it, you're like, this is different. I think it's kind of wild that this is his first movie, and I get like he wrote the play and then he wrote a treatment to make it a movie. But like just to like come in and have like form and like a really like clear vision of how he wants this done on screen on a script level is really impressive. And to have Rob Reiner just come in and be like, we're gonna rearrange these 3 things and it's gonna be perfect. It should be amazing. I like the recurring cast of people that Sorkin has throughout his career, and one of the people that I'm really surprised wasn't one of them is Tom Cruise, because I think Tom Cruise is actively really good at Sorkin dialogue. I think Sorkin dialogue can be really hard to deliver if you just don't know what you're doing. It's like a tightrope act sometimes, especially when it's like political or militaristic or like
what does that mean?
When there's lots of jargon to what he's talking about, it gets cluttered and muddled, and you have to like nail it. You have to thread a needle.
Who has been bad at delivering his dialogue?
Who's been bad at it?
Yeah,
I think Tom Hanks is kind of really bad at Sorkin dialogue in Charlie Wilson's War. Okay. I think Tom Hanks just does not fit what Sorkin.
I've never heard that expression, so I was curious. So
fair. I also think that Eddie Redmayne has moments in trial where I'm like, I think Eddie Redmayne is doing a lot of good things in it, but it's not his strong suit. This is the Sorkin dialogue part. But anyway, I think that Tom Cruise is really, really like good he basically gets to do the Maverick Top Gun I'm a hothead thing that he's doing kind of early on, and then gets that shit knocked out of him like over the course of the movie, where he like then weaponizes it by the end. And I think that's really cool, especially to see out of Tom Cruise, especially at that point in his career where you're like, this is new for him. And obviously everyone loves Jack Nicholson in the movie, but I think like everyone is just on all cylinders really good throughout it. I think Demi Moore is really good. She doesn't get enough love for this. But yeah, I mean the ending's great. The Did you order the code red monologue is an all-timer. But like I think that like from the introduction at the softball diamond, like and all the different things there is just insane. I think it's just really well put together.
I'm a big fan of screenwriters, especially ones that are very dialogue driven, which is why I like people like Shane Black or Christopher McQuarrie. And Aaron Sorkin is honestly one of the best, if not the best, at kind of having that dialogue that can be anything from super playful to super serious, and sometimes in the same scene or in the same line, even just in the way it's delivered. This one definitely feels like a play. You can tell it was a play. But it's not to its detriment. I think it just works completely. I mean, they do go off on location, a couple things that obviously they wouldn't have done on stage, but I think that when done well, a play converted to a movie works really well, like in this or Glengarry Glen Ross or some things like that. And I think it really works, and I think it's a great example of that. I think a big part of that is Rob Reiner, who, as Cody already said, was on just a killer run, which went from his this is Spinal Tap through When Harry Met Sally, which by the way is the other one I thought we were talking about because they dropped this week the non-top 100 episode that had Harry and Sally in it. That's why it stuck in my head. But Princess Bride, Misery, this. But the thing is, after this, it's like American President, and then a whole lot of things that were disappointing to say the least. He kind of has never been even close to this run that he was on. But I think in this case, I think that he handled it great. I think it helps that he had a great cast top to bottom, and obviously Jack Nicholson being the anchor to that, because he does phenomenal. Everything Kirk said about it being like a good movie with a phenomenal final scene is 100% true. Like, which is why it wouldn't make my top 100, but I have always really enjoyed this movie, and it's one of those movies that's not like the first one I think of to pop on and watch, but something like this comes up, which spurs me to watch it again, and I love it the whole time I'm watching it. I think it's a great movie. I honestly, though, 1992 was kind of a weak field. I would probably have made this movie Best Picture, because Unforgiven was a good movie, but I don't love it. The rest of the nominees, so it's like and the fact that it's talking to Oscars, the fact that Aaron Sorkin wasn't even nominated for this is just a joke. But yeah,
that's fair. Cam, did you talk?
I have not yet. No, I really like this. I really like this movie. I had seen it once before, and then this was a rewatch, and I liked it even more this time around. I think it's very tightly written. I think, like, as much as there is the clear standout scene at the end, I think the rest of the movie building up to it is still very well done. I think it's very interesting and engaging seeing the full process. Like, the weakest parts of the movie for me are like the more glimpses into the personal lives of mostly crews and like the pseudo romance that there is. Like, as much as I get it, because it's good to not have it be all just the one note of this is a law movie. It's about the law and the courtroom and no other things. Like, the stuff that's around it to kind of mix it up is a little bit like lesser, but still not bad. But like, I don't need to see Tom Cruise playing baseball with his military lawyer buds when I'm more invested in like, oh yeah, like an innocent dude got beaten to death and like died of basically like internally drowning in his own blood almost. How did this happen? Why did this happen? Clearly there's something going on and we need to know. And seeing as it unravels and unravels and you learn more and more until you finally get like that big burst and that big build is this fantastic, like ramping up as it goes along. As much as this is by no means like my favorite courtroom movie, I think there might have been one on my list of 20 that I submitted, and it's not the courtroom movie that everyone will be like, Cameron likes this one courtroom movie, air quotes. It's not that one. But I think this is a fantastic movie. I think the performances all around fantastic, which like, yeah, Nicholson, like I looked through the Oscars list for this year and I was like, Nicholson not winning in that class is ridiculous. Where like, I'll admit I'm not the biggest Unforgiven fan because I'm not a big Westerns guy, but like, even so, like Gene Hackman should not be beating Jack Nicholson when this is the Jack Nicholson performance that he's doing. Like, it's incredible. And then like just the writing, the directing, everything throughout, I think is just like fully on point. I think this is a great movie.
Okay. I think that's it for this movie. I do love the baseball scenes. I do love I love the conversations. Like I love the pre-trial stuff a lot in this movie. Like when they're sitting there eating Chinese food, discussing like the case, and like if I fall for it every damn time, like you can't do that. Like how it works.
I will say too, Cam alluded to this. I love the fact that they didn't make it a romance between Tom Cruise and Demi Moore, who were like the two hottest people on the planet at the time, and it would have been very easy to succumb to, making that part of the story. And the fact they didn't, I give a lot of respect.
And like they have the moment where you almost think that they are, where like they go to the diner together, they go to dinner, and it's like, oh no, they're just talking to each other like people and not like work colleagues anymore. And it's like that's a really nice thing.
It's been a while since I saw the movie. I'm like, did this take a turn that I don't during that scene? I'm like, did this take a turn I don't remember, but they didn't, and I love it.
Yeah, I can't remember who was supposed to not pull the other guy on the trial. Somebody was supposed to get that part, or was one.
Jason Alexander was going to have Kevin Pollak's part.
Yeah,
thank you.
But he
That's
ended
the part.
Seinfeld got renewed, and so he had to go do that, and so Kevin
I
Pollak.
was
That's
in
what
the
he's going to
pool.
Rob Reiner.
Just imagine him screaming there. Like that would be great.
somebody needs a deep fake.
All right. Yeah, I was in the pool. You're right. I hold you in contempt. I was in the pool. Okay. Star ratings. I'll go first. I'm 4.5. 4.5. It's no fault to it, but the one thing we didn't do is like I understand they need to seem like completely inexperienced and they have to just seem like military guys, but the two guys that are on trial are awful, like in acting wise. Like I just don't like even when they do the whining part. Like I guess it's the I don't know which one says it, but it's like we were just doing our job. Like it comes off like I get it, but like he just seems inexperienced. So
that moment at the end of the salute is kind of cheesy. I will admit that.
There are little moments. I'm just like, take it away.
I also love at the very end when Nicholson's like, "What are like just gets up to leave," and he's like, "What are you what are you doing? You're gonna arrest me?" And they're like, "Yes, absolutely."
That's how this works.
Yeah.
But it's like that like PBS message.
We are taking you into military custody because you ordered soldiers to beat a man to death. Of course, we're arresting you.
It's like the PBS line too. Is like, what? And it's like, we did break the law. Like they have to like he has to tell him like, yeah, we did fuck up. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you have the two soldiers like we were just following orders. It's like we still beat a guy to death. Like yeah, we do.
Oh, we followed orders. It doesn't matter.
We didn't say no.
Cam, what's your rating?
I give it a 4.5. I think this is a great movie.
Koho?
4.5. One of the best debuts from a writer I think that's ever been.
Nothing about Rob Reiner, only Aaron Sorkin. I see it. Kirk.
First.
I'm 3.5. It does honestly like it's going up for me every time. Well, not necessarily star rating, but just in my idea of it has gone up every time I watch it. So it has the ability to go up from there. I enjoy it more every time, but still 3.5 for me.
Brian.
4.5.
Look at us. You know what it's better than? Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Okay. Last movie of the night.
But A Few Good Men doesn't have a dragon in it.
And I'm holding out for a hero play why the heroes save them.
Dude,
and then they have to
if
point
while
out-
they're studying, getting all their
Sorry.
legal work done, it's a montage set to holding out for a hero, then it's a 5-star.
We need a montage.
Sorry. Okay, last movie of the night. I tried to get one person here because it's in their letterbox review every time they say anything. You cannot make it. It's Jurassic Park. I'm curious where everybody sits on this because I remember famously in our top 100, in Kirk's top 100, his episode.
Yeah.
It stopped at like 92 or whatever on the list. Like it was, and it's about the same range in the whole population, but it still makes the list. Mike did submit a list, so is Mike? No. Yes. Okay, so I think it only got one vote. I think Mike was the only one.
I got one vote, and it was Mike's number one.
I think it was, yeah. I think they were still in the 20s, 20-point range. So was the bottom, like 10 could have been like all flip-flopped. So it's pretty interesting how that worked. It's the one, when I get the question, when people ask me, what's one movie that you wish you got to see in theaters, like the first time you ever watched it? This is always my go-to answer. To hear the score, to see the stuff and the turn and see the dinosaur for the first time, I think is like I feel like there's movies that come along that effect drops off after time. Like that one has never dropped off for me. It has always been one of those highlight points. And I think that's how success is. I'm very transparent on this movie. I think I've said it numerous times that this movie would be like a 6 stars out of 5 if the Raptors got a hold of the children. I hate these two kids like really bad. I think Lex is one of the worst children ever of all time. Stop shining light, shine the light. Stop doing this. But good thing she's around because she's a computer hacker. Fuck yeah, like that's just what we need in this movie. So. I'm curious because I think this is really interesting. We have two definite different age gap here. We have two that saw it in theaters. I would assume both of you saw this movie in theaters when it came out. Maybe, maybe not. And then two saw the 3D re-release, if that's the first time that you possibly saw it. So curious what both people think. We may just trade old for young one at a time. So whoever wants to go first. Because Boatman famously told me, it's like, oh, the older generation, oh, look at the dinos, that's why it's cool. Like, I think it's a crazy take, but like, because he didn't have it on his top 100. But
I'm going to go first just because I want to jump on that. Because the whole thing about, I mean, yes, the dinos are cool, and that's the real appeal of this movie. There's plenty more to like about this movie, which I'll get into. But the dinosaurs are amazing. I don't think people realize, especially younger people who didn't get to see this in theaters, who didn't live, and see movies before this, realize the seismic shift in special effects that this thing created. I mean, there's basically two seismic shifts in special effects. That's Star Wars and then this. Because before Jurassic Park, you just had to accept suspension of disbelief. You watch, even in Star Wars movies, you watched bad stop motion, you watched people in rubber, puppets and things like that, and masks, and you just accepted it. Jurassic Park ushered in this era of CGI, which, yes, has been abused and it's been done badly many times as well. But to this day, this first Jurassic Park movie still holds up completely. I mean, this is the first time you looked at the screen and said, holy shit, they found real dinosaurs and put a camera on them. Because it just looked that real. And so yes, we went and saw it. And yes, we were amazed by it. And yes, the first time you saw it, it was like you were baffled because it is the dinosaurs and you love the dinosaurs and it's great. And it is the reason to come see this. Plus the fact that just watching dinosaurs eat people is fucking cool. That's the reason to love this movie. Now, all that stuff aside, you have on top of that, of course, Steven Spielberg, who is one of the greatest directors of all time. I mean, depending on your taste, you might consider him different levels, but you have to respect that he is one of the best directors of all time. And he's hit pretty much every genre at this point. And even in this year alone, he managed to put out Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. Arguably the biggest popcorn flick of all time and the biggest and one of the biggest prestiged Oscar films of all time in the same year. Because he was just that good of a director. I think that the way he creates this story is great. I think that kind of like Jaws, he employed this thing where for the first, half of the movie or like 45 minutes or whatever, he's just kind of teasing little glimpses of the dinosaurs or things like that until the T-Rex really comes out and then the movie really starts to get going, which is what Willy Wonka did wrong. So it was just boring for the first half and it didn't actually interest you the way that, this one did. It kind of built up the tension and made you enjoy it that much more when it hit. But just the way he directed that, the way he directs, whether it be action sequences or just small moments between, the kids and Alan or, with their grandpa, John Hammond, things like that. I think that he handles that wonderfully. And one thing I did want to say when I watched it this time is you realize what a genius move it was to have Mr. DNA in there. Because Mr. DNA is just an exposition dump, but it's done in a way that, it makes sense for the movie because it's for the visitors to the park. They're coming and watching this thing that explains how the dinosaur brought back things like that. And they're using that to explain it to the audience the same way. And it doesn't feel like an exposition dump because it feels like it is a natural part of the movie. And I just thought that was a genius way to do that. But yeah.
I also picked up on that this time, and I thought that was like the last time I watched it. I thought it was crazy. I was like, because normally that would be the complaint for most people, like, "Oh, congratulations, the next exposition dump." Like, because if Goldblum's driving around in the Jeep explaining everything, or just somebody's like talking about it, it's annoying. But it works like you're at the park.
I think that Jurassic Park is just one of those like completely timeless, like all-time movies where like there's a lot. To me, Jurassic Park is the first, like with Star Wars and with like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it's like you can do anything in movies. You can genuinely make anything happen. And I think that's what's really cool about Jurassic, like a spirit of adventure and a spirit of just cinematic bliss every time you watch Jurassic Park, that anything can happen. And I love the story. I think this is the only movie in the series really where like the dinosaurs are like, you're not there, like obviously you're there to watch dinosaurs, but you're not like, the movie's not focused on like dinosaurs. Like this is dinosaur horror movie that like happens to be like, the thesis of like what man can do. And I think like I think some of the sequels actually kind of succeed in like building on those ideas in some weird way, but like the first movie is so perfect at that. And I don't know, there's not really much to add to Jurassic Park. It's to quote the man whose favorite is, it's a great fucking movie. It's just one of the best.
Yeah. You guys both said, I had it written down here in my notes, greatest exposition dump scene of all time.
Oh yeah.
With Mr. DNA, because they just blow you right through that. And I think that's what's so great about this movie is I've never read the novel. From what I understand, the novel is more focused on the science. And I love that the movie focuses, it has a lot of science in it, obviously, but there's a lot of that focus on the wonder. Beginning with John Williams' score. I think this is up there with one of his, I don't think people talk about it as one of his greatest, but I think it is one of his best.
The book is very, very scientific jargon filled, and I think it's Spielberg that brings that wonder to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have that John Williams score. Now, when the best John Williams score, they become the theme of whatever that movie's about. And I think John Williams in this movie writes the theme for wonder. My favorite scene of this movie is still that scene where they first see, where they're coming up with a Jeep and you see their reaction shots first. And, just that feel, you feel that feeling of what they feel when they're even Goldblum, Ian Malcolm, who, moments later is furious at what they've done. You still see that giant smile on his face because, oh my God, there's real dinosaurs. I did see this in the theater. Unfortunately for me, I think I was like the exact wrong age because I was too old to get excited about dinosaurs, but I was too young to really appreciate what was happening from a filmmaking perspective. I think this movie comes out like 5 years earlier, 5 years later. It's my favorite movie of all time for one reason or another. So I think that's like the reason why I never had that like initial connection to it. But it's still, I mean, like I said, I love the way that Spielberg takes like the old adventure serials of his childhood and makes Indiana Jones. I think he does the same thing. He takes like a creature feature from like the 50s and like elevates it to something that he would do. And I love when directors do that. I know like Guillermo del Toro does it a lot, where he'll take just a genre he loves and make a better movie out of it. And Spielberg does the same thing. So I think that's a lot of fun. I did notice like a few little nitpicks. Some of the effects don't hold up so well. The stampede scene, I think you can see like a lot of tracing of the dinosaurs. Like that dinosaur baby is very at the beginning is very much a puppet. But I mean the T-Rex still looks fantastic, and just the way that they blend, practical with CGI and do that so perfectly. That scene where, I mean, just so many great scenes. That scene where like they're running the Jeep, as soon as the Jeep starts moving, you see the T-Rex come out. It's just so well done. There's some really weird editing choices in there, and I think just like in the action scenes, but also some of the dialogue. There's during the dinner scene, Laura Dern's talking, and it's very obvious they spliced together two different conversations, because her sentence starts out saying one thing, and then they cut to a different angle, and she's saying something that has nothing to do with what she said previous. So just little nitpicks like that. But it's still, like I said, it wasn't my top 100. I'm actually redoing my top 100 now. It's probably going to get edged out. But I mean, objectively, I cannot say this doesn't belong in the top 100 list all time.
Yeah, I believe I'm the last person who hasn't talked about this yet. Yeah, as was alluded to, I am one of the young people here. I am younger than this movie. I didn't see this movie for the first time until I was, I think, like 15. Like, it was a while before I saw this movie. And I've always gone, like, over time I've gotten like
I didn't see it until I was 20, so
I mean that's fair, but you could. I went 15 years of my life without this movie because I just didn't care. And that's kind of where I sit with this. Where like I think Jurassic Park is a good movie. I think it is well made. I think it is entertaining. I think the effects, especially like the nighttime T-Rex encounter, looks still amazing to this day. Like the fact that still looks so good after over 30 years, where like I rewatched the Jurassic World movies the other day. And like I rewatched Jurassic World less than 10 years old, and some of that movie looks terrible now. But like 30 years later, still some of Jurassic Park looks fantastic. And I think Jurassic Park is a good movie that I frankly just don't care. Like it's a movie where I'm like, this is good, and if you like it, all power to you. I think it's good, and I don't care about it. Like I watched it, I liked it, and that's my relationship with this movie. Like I don't love it. I don't think it's this masterpiece. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. But the moment it's done, I'm like, cool. I watched Jurassic Park, and now I'm gonna go do some other stuff. Like I did a marathon and watched every Spielberg movie last year, and like, yeah, the man makes a lot of very good movies. This is one of his good movies. Yep.
I don't know how you.
Like I feel bad because like
Scumbag.
this is a good movie, but I'm going to turn people against me being like it's a good movie and I don't care. Like sure.
I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy to be like this is disposable. Like sure. I would say Spielberg's made disposable. Yeah, but by saying you don't care means it's like you're literally describing what a disposable movie is, and like yes, you are. You're like, and in the moment it's done, I don't care or think about it again. That's literally what a disposable movie is.
I mean, no, a disposable movie is one that you write off for tax purposes because you're a corporate megalomaniac running Warner Brothers.
Well, I mean, so I think as much as I disagree with Cam as what he's saying, but I also kind of see it, like we all feature those considered great movies, right? That we watch and then we're like, if this never popped up on my screen again, am I personally missing anything? That's how Cam feels about it. Do I feel like that's a crazy statement?
I think this is an important movie. I think this is a good movie. I think the effects are fantastic. I think it absolutely is a staple in pop culture. Just for me, it's something where like I don't get the immense hype that this movie has.
Like I can respect that. That's how I feel about like The Godfather, which is I'm not bashing The Godfather. I'm saying it's not my kind of film.
Yeah, I won't lie. Like if you have a scale and on one end's Cam and one end's Mike Hanley, like I'm much closer to Cam about this movie. Like it's not. I just did my finished up Spielberg a couple weeks ago, and I made my list, and this definitely wasn't my top 5. It's good. Like I said, everything I said about it's true. Like there's so many good things about it. Like I watch it, kind of like I feel about A Few Good Men. Like I enjoyed it, but it's not like an essential movie to me, like it is for a lot of people. And I respect the people it is. Like I said, objectively, it deserves all the accolades it gets. I just don't have that personal connection with it.
I think where it goes, but I also see Koho's side of it, because like where this breaks for me is, one, it's a every year watch. I will always watch this, but this is the one, like I can't wait. Like I'm waiting for the perfect age to show my kids this, because I want to see that reaction the first time. Like I will watch them more than I'll watch the movie that time, because I want to see them see that for the first, see a dinosaur, because that is such a like an ingrained memory in my head, is when I hear that score kick in and it drives in, and I'm like, okay, cool, dinosaur, because you see like the glimpse, but when you see it, and my joke is like, this movie came out when it did, and if you go like it's way past, years have passed, but I used to say Gods of Egypt came out, and look at the CGI and the effects in Gods of Egypt, and look at what Spielberg was able to capture in this year. Like it's crazy, the thing. So that's where it was like built into me at a young age. Like no one said this is the greatest movie, but it was my uncle sitting down and be like, I'm going to show him Jurassic Park, and watch his facial reactions, and like, holy shit. Like, yeah. And I think it's something ingrained too. I think this is like something that I don't know about every other person. No, not everybody has a kid or whatever, but like my kids go batshit crazy for dinosaurs when they were younger. Like it's something they can't see. It's something that they hear about. It's like a myth that exists, but like these big monsters that roam around. And when they actually see a patrol on the same ground as humans, it's like a mind-blowing experience. Which
I think there were like 4 subsects of kids, like in kindergarten, like there's like 4 kinds of toys that you can play with in the room, and it's always like there's space, dinosaurs, cowboys, and it's the 4 quadrants of things that like you can experience. And like I'll let you take one guess as to which quadrant of kid I was. But like I think like I think dinosaur kids is like such a real thing, and like for dinosaur kids this is like huge. I don't know. I have friends who like are like to this day love dinosaurs.
Yeah, like my kids picking backpacks.
Yeah,
last few years, always give me the dino backpack. This
like,
year we found a dino in space backpack. It was mind blowing.
The closest thing I have to a kid
like
showing movies for the first time is my girlfriend, who has seen like 7 movies. And so, like, for us, it's
Monsters
like,
Inc.
Yeah, one of them is Monsters Inc. And literally, she's
All
staring
7
at me.
of them
She's
are
staring at
Monsters.
me pissed. But like, we watch Star Wars and Batman and stuff like that, and it's the first time she's ever seen these things, and that's like really fun for me. So like, Jurassic Park is like, it's one of those where it's like, if I make a list of the movies where it's like, if I woke up, or if someone woke up with amnesia and had never seen a movie, what's the list of like 20 movies that I'm like, you need to see this to understand
Captain
movies
America,
what they are.
like
Jurassic Park is on the list of 20 movies that I think you have to show someone.
I will say
I'm
always very jealous of people in this community who I see logging things and watching movies for the first time, because like I can never watch these movies for the first time again, and I will say that having had kids and shown the movies, that's the next best thing you can do, is because showing them, and like Cody said, that's exactly what I did. I'd watch them, show them Jurassic Park or something, and I'd be watching them more than I'd be watching the screen, and just seeing their reaction to it, and it makes you love it even more.
I think also this is always the like counterpoint that I hate, because like when a disaster movie comes out and they're like, these human characters are so bad, and always my excuse is, well, how was the twister? Did it destroy shit? That's what I care about. This is one of the exceptions to the rule that always like is always the trump card that everybody can play. Is like, yeah, the T-Rex was cool, but you also know who was cool? Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum. They were all awesome too, and I also got to see a T-Rex. So it kind of works. We'll give star ratings. I'm a 5 out of 5. It's in mixture between nostalgia and also a great movie. Like I'm fine with both being there. It's a every year watch. Like me and Mike have the last 2 years, almost 3 now. I think it's 3 maybe. We've hopped on call and watched Jurassic Park together. Like It's a great experience watching it with somebody that like loves the films too. I highly suggest that. If you know somebody that really loves the film, watch it with them on call. It's fun. Koho.
For me, it's 4.5. I love this movie. I think it's great. And I think if you were to make a list of 20 movies that you have to show someone to show them what a movie is, Jurassic Park is 100% one of those
20. Kirk.
It's between 3.5, respectful 3.5 and 4. I'll probably go 4.
Hey, for Kirk, that's huge.
I know. I just hate his rating. Like,
Brian. Well, I won't get into it right now.
I need to put in a list right now to boost this up because it's way too low on the list. It's 5 stars.
And Cam.
4.
All right, so here's the part of the show, the last part of the show. Everybody get your whiteboards. I will tease the next episode in this list and tell you what the 5 movies are. No one else will know. If you're here and you're available on the 24th, you can also be on this episode. Let me know. But these are the ones that are first. But next week, then the next episode that will drop, the 4 movies that have made the list. All the President's Men, Finding Nemo, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Doubt, and Broadcast News. Those will be.
That really is an episode where things from my list make the list.
Yes.
I could love that.
Cam will be back on next episode. So
I think I put 4 of those on my list.
I'm having a little trouble in this episode finding people, so we'll find out if we have a full panel or not. But I will be here. I haven't asked Koho. Let's see if Koho will be here. We'll ask him after the show. Okay, so we're gonna edit this. You guys get to pick. So this will be in the 5th spot. Well, these are all my star ratings, but the 5th spot. Write down what you want in the 5th spot. Between La La Land, Breakfast Club, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, A Few Good Men, and Jurassic Park. Let me know when everybody has it down.
I wrote down beginning of the show.
All right. 3, 2, 1, flip.
I put Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Okay, Willy Wonka is the last on the list. Now write your 4th one. Let me know when you have it down. Kirk, why'd you write your board?
I think we might have 4 different answers here.
And since there's no other person, I will break this tie. I do not have a vote, but we'll see. Flip.
La La Land.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. Okay. I'm disgusted already, but we're continuing. Now your third one. Cody. Your third one.
What's left? La La Land, Jurassic Park.
A Few Good Men, and Jurassic Park.
All right.
3, 2, 1, flip.
La La Land.
La La Land.
We're tied. Huh. Okay, so we pretty much have the order, but La La Land's going to stay there. Write down your number 1. Not your number 2, what you wanted number 1.
We're writing down what we think goes number 1.
Yes. Because I broke the tie between La La Land and A Few Good Men. La La Land will be there.
What did you pick? I didn't hear.
I picked La La Land to be the 3rd.
Okay.
And I just broke that.
No one is surprised by this.
I broke it because of star rating, not because of my personal view. I promise. If it was Moonlight,
that's the same thing.
3, 2, 1, flip.
That should be number 1.
Okay. Jurassic Park. Okay. So basically, yeah, a few flips. So that is our list. That is the episode. Next week, again, All the President's Men, Finding Nemo, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Doubt, and Broadcast News. Some of my all-time favorite movies are next week. So I'm really excited for it. But yeah, thank you all for being on. This was a blast. Thanks for talking films, and we will see you on the next roundtable.